The shuttle doors hissed open, releasing a wave of humid air and the pungent scent of sulfur and moss. Nathan Griggs stepped down onto the spongy surface of Virx 9 with a soft squelch and immediately regretted not wearing his backup boots. The assignment briefing had listed the planet's biome as temperate jungle, but the mud that sucked at his heels felt like it had a personal vendetta. A few meters ahead, an 8-foot-tall insectoid in a dark cobalt robe adjusted the shimmering lens that served as its left eye. Professor Zalber, head of xenogeological studies at the Galacta Interdisciplinary Institute, was infamous for his inflexible fieldwork expectations and fondness for assigning tasks that most species considered cruel and unusual. "Students," Zalber announced, voice buzzing through the translator unit clipped to his thorax, "you have been selected to harvest the crystalline deposits of type K xenite from Sector 4.7. These crystals are embedded within root systems of the native fauna, some of which respond violently to disturbance. You will begin at sunrise. Failure to meet your quota will result in academic penalties and possible reassignment to the sanitation mines of Kaltzer 3. The group of 8 students exchanged uneasy glances. Zalber's right eye swiveled in Nathan's direction. "You are the Terran." "Nathan Griggs, yes." Nathan adjusted the strap of his sample pack. "Yeah, that's me. Your species is known for improvisation. I advise against it. Xenite is rare and fragile. Any damage will be deducted from your total. I'll keep that in mind." The camp was little more than a series of collapsible domes and a central canopy strung between 2 bent trees. Nathan found an empty cot under the canopy and dropped his gear. His back was already damp with sweat. He glanced at the others, mostly humanoids, a few reptilian types, one gelatinous student who jiggled nervously whenever Zalber passed. A squat, broad-shouldered student named Bryn plopped down across from him. Her skin shimmered like oil on water. "You're going to hate this," she said, chewing on something that crunched like gravel. "I already do. Last semester, he made a guy track crystal mites through a marsh for 3 days, came back with all his fingers stained black, still can't use a stylus." Nathan rubbed his temples. "And we can't just say no," Bryn laughed. "You could, but then you'd be cleaning osmotic filters in 0G for the next 2 years. That night, Nathan barely slept. The jungle groaned and chirped around them, and the heat never let up. By dawn, he was soaked, exhausted, and more curious than afraid. He had grown up in the backwoods of Oregon, so wilderness didn't scare him. What bothered him was how little anyone seemed to know about the native ecosystem. The briefing had mentioned burrowing fauna and symbiotic root networks, but the rest had been marked as pending further observation. Zalber handed out excavation tools that looked like oversized dental picks and instructed them to work in pairs. Nathan got stuck with a pale, silent student named Kor, whose 4 arms and constant sniffing made conversation difficult. They were assigned a dig site near the base of a tree that looked like coral frozen mid-wave. By midday, Nathan had managed to excavate exactly 1/2 cracked shard of xenite, while Kor had dug up 3 intact ones with surgical efficiency. Nathan wiped his brow. "There's gotta be a better way than scraping dirt for 6 hours. Kor blinked, not responding. Then the ground shifted. Something beneath the roots moved, lifting a section of soil like a slow ripple. Kor stepped back. Nathan crouched and peered into the writhing tangle. A pair of glossy black eyes blinked up at him. A creature the size of a cat, covered in mossy fur with a flat snout and stubby claws, emerged. It chirped once, sniffed the air, and promptly began digging at the base of the tree. Nathan watched as it uncovered a glimmer of blue xenite within seconds. "No way," he glanced at Kor, who was already backing away. "Are these dangerous?" Kor sniffed. "Unknown." "Not in the database." Nathan crouched lower. The creature paused, chirped again, and then rolled onto its back in the dirt, exposing a soft underbelly. Nathan reached slowly, hand outstretched. "Easy, buddy." The creature let him scratch its belly, then jumped up and began digging again. Within 20 minutes, the mossy digger Nathan decided to call it a burrow beast had uncovered 5 more crystals. By the time they returned to camp, Nathan had a full satchel and a dirt-covered tag-along trailing behind him. Zalber's lens focused sharply as he inspected the hall. Efficient. Unusually so, Nathan shrugged, trying to act casual. I just got lucky. Zalber pointed at the burrow beast. This creature, you domesticated it. Not exactly. It just likes digging. You will return tomorrow. Observe. Replicate? That night, Nathan stayed up late, watching the burrow beast curl into a ball beside his cot. He fed it a few protein cubes and made a mental note of its behavior. It seemed to be drawn to the mineral signature of Zionite, possibly through scent. If he could figure out exactly what drew it, he could train others. Maybe even build a team. Over the next 3 days, Nathan scouted the nearby forest, using a handheld mineral scanner to locate Zionite clusters. Every time he found a deposit, the burrow beast, now named Grub, dug it up in minutes. Grub was joined by 2 others, both of whom followed Grub's lead and responded to the same chirping cues Nathan had started imitating. The other students struggled. Bryn broke her tool in frustration. Core developed a rash from some invasive root fungus. Meanwhile, Nathan returned each evening with double the quota. Are you bribing those things? Bryn asked one evening, staring at the muddy pile beside his cot. Just feeding them, Nathan said. They do the rest. Zalber summoned him after the 5th day. You have exceeded expectations. Explain. Nathan laid out his findings. The burrow beast's attraction to Zionite-rich soil, their tolerance of human presence, and their ability to learn simple commands. Zalber tapped his lens. This deviates from the standard curriculum, so update the curriculum. There is a risk of dependency on local fauna. What if they become hostile? They're not. I've been around animals my whole life. These things are like dogs crossed with moles, Zalber considered. You will present a live demonstration tomorrow. If successful, I will authorize a secondary collection unit under your supervision. Nathan nodded. Fine, but if anyone mistreats them, I'm out. The next day, he led a group of skeptical students to a fresh site. Grub and the others dug with practiced speed, chirping back and forth as they uncovered 4 intact Zionite shards in under 10 minutes. Zalber made no comment, but his lens flickered green, a sign of approval. By the end of the week, Nathan had trained 6 burrow beasts and established a rotating dig schedule. Injuries among students dropped, collection rates soared, and morale improved for the first time since landing, but success came with scrutiny. One morning, Grub refused to dig. Its fur was matted and it limped slightly. Nathan examined its leg, swollen, punctured. What happened to you, buddy? He brought Grub to the camp's medic station, where the auto scan revealed a venomous sting from a subterranean predator, a species no one had documented. Zalber reviewed the scan. You are responsible for these creatures. You must protect them. Nathan stared at the screen. Then I need permission to map their burrow routes. I want to know where they nest, what threats they face. Zalber hesitated. You may proceed. But you will not interfere with their reproduction. Wasn't planning to. The next 3 days were grueling. He followed the burrow beast's trails through dense underbrush, occasionally crawling through narrow tunnels. He recorded temperature, soil composition, and noted signs of predators, fang marks in bark, shredded fur, disturbed nests. On the 4th day, he stumbled into a shallow pit and twisted his ankle with a sickening pop. Pain shot up his leg. He gritted his teeth, waited a minute, then tried to stand. Couldn't. Out of breath, he tapped his comm. This is Nathan Griggs. I need a pickup, possible sprain, left of Sector 6. A static pause, then Bryn's voice. Copy that. Sit tight. It took 30 minutes for her to reach him. By then, the pain had worsened. She helped him hobble back to camp, where the med scanner confirmed a minor ligament tear. 2 weeks minimum, the medic said. No fieldwork. Nathan stared at the ceiling of the med dome. What about the burrow beasts? They'll wait. But they didn't. 3 days into his recovery, Grub and 2 others disappeared. Their nests were abandoned. No signs of struggle. Zalber summoned him. Your creatures are missing. Explain. I don't know, maybe something scared them. Or maybe they're just doing what wild animals do. This jeopardizes the collection schedule. Nathan stood, wincing as his leg throbbed. Then send someone else. I'm not tracking them down half-healed. Zalber's eye narrowed. You are dismissed until recovery is complete. Nathan limped back to his cot, frustrated, worried. That night he dreamed of dark tunnels and glittering crystals buried deep beneath roots. When dawn came, he made a decision. He wasn't done. Not yet. By the fourth morning, confined to camp, Nathan had memorized every seam in the canopy above his cot. He'd counted them twice, tried to sleep sitting upright, and even attempted to distract himself by cataloging the different smells in the med dome. None of it worked. His ankle remained swollen, the joint wrapped in a tight compression brace that throbbed worse at night. The cold packs helped, but only for an hour at a time. He was propped on his elbows watching condensation bead on a metal support rod when Bryn ducked under the flap, holding a crate. "Brought your rations. They gave you the bland ones again." She set the crate down and lowered herself onto the edge of his cot without asking. Nathan didn't look at the food. "They're still gone. I checked the south ridge at dawn." "Nothing. They always came back by sunrise," he said, rubbing at his temple, "even when I camped at the western slope overnight." Bryn opened a packet labeled Nutrient Loaf and took a bite. "You think they're avoiding you?" "No," he said, "but something changed." Grub limped the day before they vanished. That sting might not have been random. "You think something's hunting them," he frowned. "If it is, it's smart enough to wait until I was out of the way." Bryn shifted, folding her legs. "You're not going to stay put, are you?" "I can't run." "But I can walk," she groaned. "You're going to get stuck in a sinkhole with one leg and I'll have to haul your sorry spine out again." He swung his legs over the side of the cot. "I just need to reach the old nesting zone near the ridge. If they left a scent trail, I might pick it up there." Bryn didn't argue. She just opened one of the lower storage bins and pulled out a walking brace. "Take this. I'm not carrying you twice." By the time the sun reached its peak, Nathan was limping through the underbrush with the brace wrapped tight around his calf. The jungle air was thick, the canopy above filtering the light into shifting green patterns. He followed the slope gradually, favoring flat stones and dry roots, pausing every 10 steps to check his footing. Sweat rolled down his spine, his shirt stuck to his ribs. The old nesting area was quieter than he remembered. No scattered leaves, no half-dug hollows. He crouched beside a tree where Grub used to nap after long digs and pressed his fingers into the dirt. Dry, too dry, he stood slowly, eyes scanning the undergrowth. A broken stem caught his attention, half split and stripped of bark, sap still oozing. 5 meters ahead, more damage. Claw marks in the trunk of a crooked tree, shallow and erratic. His fingers tightened around the strap of his satchel. Something had moved through here in a hurry. He followed the trail, weaving between ferns and low-hanging vines until he reached a patch of churned earth. A shallow depression, maybe a meter across, with fur stuck to one edge, soft, mossy, unmistakable. He crouched, brushing the fur between his fingers, still damp. A low growl rolled out from the thick brush behind him, his head snapped around. He didn't move. The sound came again, closer now. He reached slowly into his pack and pulled out a flare stick, thumbing the cap, his breath caught as something emerged from the foliage. It was the height of his waist and narrow, with a hide that shimmered like wet stone. Its limbs were too long, bent at wrong angles, the skin stretched tight over a ridged spine. It paused, sniffing the air. Its mouth opened with a strange clicking sound, revealing rows of needle-thin teeth. Nathan didn't blink. The creature lunged. The flare hissed to life in a burst of red light. He swung it wide, the heat searing the air. The creature veered off, colliding with a tree trunk before vanishing into the brush with a shriek. He stumbled backward, heart pounding, the flare's smoke curling upward in lazy spirals. It hadn't gone after him until he moved near the burrow, something territorial. He exhaled, knees trembling. "Okay," he muttered. "You're not just pretty, you're guarding something," the flare sputtered out. He glanced back toward the ridge. There was no way he'd make it further without backup. Back at camp, he hobbled straight to the central dome, ignoring the ache in his leg. Zalber was there, hunched over a holoscreen, scanning mineral density maps. "I need a containment unit," Nathan said, gripping the side of the table. "And 2 drones, small ones, quiet." Zalber didn't look up. "You exceed mobility limits. Return to your cot. There's a predator near the nesting zone, something fast, nocturnal, and territorial." "I think it's why the burrow beasts vanished." Zalber narrowed his lens slightly. "Is this speculation or observed fact? I saw it. It nearly tore my leg off. You were forbidden to leave camp. You want your crystals or not, Nathan snapped. Because if these things get wiped out, your collection rate drops by half and your curriculum turns into a footnote. There was a long pause. Then Zalber tapped the side of the console. 2 drones lifted from their charging stations and hovered in place. You have 1 hour. If you are not back, I will deploy retrieval units. Fine. And if you perish, I will not authorize recovery. It is inefficient. Nathan gave a short nod. Understood. The drones followed him as he retraced his steps, weaving between trees and scanning for thermal movement. The air had shifted. The jungle felt tense, like it was holding its breath. Near the damaged tree, he paused and activated the drone's visual enhancers. One hovered low, emitting a soft pulse. A faint echo returned a tunnel hidden beneath the undergrowth. He crouched, pulling the vines aside. The entrance was just wide enough for the small creatures. A burrow, recently used. Gotcha, he whispered. He lowered a nutrient cube near the entrance and stepped back. 10 minutes passed, then a nose twitched out from the shadow's grub. The creature emerged slowly, sniffing the air, then trotted to the cube and began chewing. Its fur was matted, but the limp had faded. Behind it, 2 smaller forms hovered uncertainly at the tunnel's edge. Nathan crouched, keeping his voice low. You brought friends, Grub chirped once, then paused, head tilting sharply. A shadow passed overhead. The drones beeped in warning rapid motion. The predator burst from the trees, jaws wide. Nathan threw himself sideways, wincing as his ankle exploded in pain. The larger drone darted between him and the attacker, releasing a high-frequency pulse. The predator flinched mid-leap, crashing into the ground and scrambling away. Nathan rolled onto his back, teeth clenched. Blood seeped through the edge of his brace. Grub darted forward and chirped again, louder this time. The other 2 bolted into the trees, but Grub stayed. Nathan sat up slowly. Still sticking around, huh? He reached into his pack and pulled out a small tracking collar. Time to make sure you don't vanish again. Grub didn't resist. Back at camp, the med tech cursed under his breath when he saw Nathan's leg. The scan showed torn tissue, increased swelling, and minor bleeding around the joint. You're lucky it didn't rupture. You'll be off it for 3 weeks minimum. Nathan grimaced as the tech applied a cooling gel and rewrapped the brace tighter. I only need to walk with it, not run. You'll be lucky to stand. Across the dome, Zalber entered, hands folded behind his back. He said nothing for several seconds. Then, you recovered the creature. Nathan nodded, and found its new den. Whatever chased them off is still active. You'll need to reclassify that zone. It will be restricted, Zalber said, but your actions were reckless. Unauthorized, impulsive, and painful to document. And effective, Zalber tilted his head. You will design a protective perimeter for the nesting zone. Use the drones. Submit your plan by dusk. Nathan leaned back against the cot, leg throbbing. I'll need more nutrient packs. They have new pups, Zalber paused. You will receive them. As the professor left, Bryn appeared in the doorway again, holding another crate. I'm not saying you're an idiot, she said, but you might be the dumbest genius I've ever met. Nathan grinned through the pain. That's just called being human. Nathan leaned against the side of the containment dome, the brace biting into his calf with every shift in weight. The sterilized air inside the structure carried a faint tang of antiseptic and hot plastic. He watched Grub chew through a nutrient pellet, its small claws twitching rhythmically as it huddled under the heat lamp. 2 smaller burrow beasts nuzzled beside it, their fuzzy coats patchy from recent shedding. Bryn stood by the sensor array, tapping through the movement logs. Her face was set in a grim frown as she stared at the feed from Drone 2. That's the 3rd night it's circled their den, she said. Same pattern, same distance, never gets closer than 15 meters. Nathan rubbed the side of his neck. It's not hunting. It's waiting. For what? For them to slip, get caught too far from the tunnels, or maybe it's scent marking claiming the area. Bryn leaned back, arms crossed. You think it's just one? Doubt it. He pointed to the heat signature overlay. Look, pulse rate's too steady. It doesn't change even when the drones buzz by. That's confidence. It knows it's not in danger. Bryn exhaled sharply. So we've got a predator staking out the only productive crystal site on the planet, and we've got 1 guy with a limp, 3 digging furballs, and me. He shifted his weight, winced. We also have an overconfident professor who thinks mineral quotas are more important than field safety. You telling me or reminding yourself? Both. Zalber entered the dome without warning, his long limbs folding neatly as he approached. The containment lights cast a metallic sheen across his chitin, making him look more like a surgical tool than a biologist. You requested additional perimeter hardware, he said. Nathan nodded. Infrared tripwires. If that thing breaches the outer ring, we'll know before it's in biting range. Zalber clicked his mandibles. Approved, but your resource usage has exceeded your allotment. You will submit a revised risk-benefit analysis by midday. You'll get it, Nathan said, adjusting his grip on the wall. But if we lose another digger, you're going to be substituting lectures with apologies. Zalber turned to the juveniles. Their behavior has changed, less digging, more nesting. Explain. They're growing, Nathan said. Too fast, probably. They're burning energy just staying warm. I need to double their nutrient intake. Their productivity is halving. They're animals, not machines. You were given latitude on the assumption that results would remain stable. Nathan stepped forward, ignoring the sharp pull in his leg. You want stable, then listen. These creatures are the only reason your students haven't split their hands open trying to scrape crystals from bedrock. You want consistent output, then you let me keep them alive. Zalber's lens flickered once. You have until the end of the rotation cycle. If output does not increase, I will authorize mechanical extraction. He left without waiting for a response. Bryn waited until the flap closed behind him. He's bluffing. No, he's not, Nathan said. He doesn't bluff, he recalculates. She glanced back at Grubb. What happens if they get replaced? They die, Nathan said. The machines won't see the tunnels, won't recognize the root systems, and the predators. They won't care what's doing the digging. Later that evening, Nathan sat on a folding crate outside the dome, leg extended, a compression sleeve humming quietly against his skin. He was sipping lukewarm rehydration broth when Core approached from the eastern path, one of his lower arms cradling a cracked specimen jar. Nathan watched him approach. You get lost or bored, Core held out the jar. Inside was a small pile of grayish pellets. Scat, he said. Nathan raised a brow. You brought me poop, fresh, less than 2 hours old, same chemical markers as the Predator Trail. Nathan whistled low. Where? North Ridge, near the sulfur pools. So it's expanding its range, Core nodded. And it's not alone, 3 separate trails. One larger than the others. Nathan leaned back. Pack behavior, wonderful, Core crouched beside him. They're not killing to feed, they're killing to clear. He stared into the dark tree line. Territorial displacement, they're pushing out everything smaller. Core tapped the side of the jar. You have 3 days, maybe 4. After that, the nests won't be safe. Nathan stood slowly. Then we move the nests. Bryn looked up from the containment monitor when Nathan limped back in. Tell me you're not about to suggest a relocation. I am, through Predator territory. Exactly, she sighed. You're really committed to this martyr routine. Nathan grinned. I'm just stubborn, Oregon stubborn. The next 12 hours were chaos. They mapped a new dig zone south of the ridge, outside known predator range. Soil samples showed moderate xenite density. Not ideal, but viable. Bryn overrode the dome's lockout and began packing the juveniles into padded carriers. Nathan prepped the route, setting up decoy pheromone trails and deploying 2 drones ahead to scan for movement. By sunrise, they were ready. The convoy was small. Nathan, Bryn, Core, and 2 students from Zalber's class, both volunteers. The path wound through dense foliage, the air thick with humidity and tension. Nathan walked slowly, each step deliberate. The brace hissed with every movement, distributing weight away from his swollen ankle. Halfway through the route, Drone 1 emitted a low-pitched alert. Movement 30 meters, Bryn whispered. They froze, a rustle in the ferns. Then silence. Nathan signaled to the group. Hold, wait. A long shadow moved across the underbrush, then slipped away. Core checked the scanner. False pass, not pursuing. They moved again. By midday, they reached the new site. The soil was damp, the trees spaced further apart. Bryn released the juveniles. Grubb emerged last, sniffed the air, then began digging. Within the hour, they found their first xenite shard. Nathan exhaled. By the second day, the diggers had established new tunnels. The predator trail had not followed. The drones remained on patrol. Collection resumed. By the third day, productivity returned to previous levels. The juveniles adapted quickly, showing signs of typical foraging behavior. Grub resumed leadership patterns, directing the smaller ones with chirps and nudges. Zalber arrived unannounced mid-afternoon, his lens scanning the site. Explain this relocation. Bryn handed him the sensor data. Predator density too high, old site compromised. This one's clear. Zalber examined the data. You acted without clearance. Nathan stepped forward. We acted within survival parameters, Zalber considered. Productivity is within margin. Nathan folded his arms, and no one died. Zalber turned back toward the ridge. You will submit a full report. This colony will be designated as a protected auxiliary unit. No mechanical units will be deployed. Bryn let out a breath. That's as close to gratitude as he gets. Nathan lowered himself onto a rock, stretching his leg. Good. Because I'm not doing this again. Core appeared with another sample jar, this one filled with bright blue crystals. He handed it to Nathan. You missed one. Nathan turned it in his hands, watching the light refract through it. No. I just had better help. Grub chirped once, then dove into the soil and vanished from sight. The earth shifted slightly, then stilled. Bryn sat beside him, her boots caked in mud. You gonna stay on this track now? Animal whisper to the stars, he grinned. Only if I get a better brace next time, she laughed. You earned it. The sun dipped below the canopy, casting long shadows across the dig site. The drones hovered in lazy arcs, their sensors quiet. The jungle, for once, held its breath in peace. Nathan leaned back, closed his eyes, and let the sounds of gentle chirps and distant rustling lull him into the first real rest he'd had in weeks.